guys, today we'll be doing the chapter periodic table, and this is ideal for all the students who are studying in 11th grade or have decided to prepare for the JEE exam in the near future. So we'll start with some basics. So we all know that an atom consists of a nucleus having orbits, or you can say shells around them, which hold negatively charged particles known as electrons. Now the charge of electrons is counterbalanced by the protons in the nucleus, and that's why we call an atom to be neutrally charged. It also has neutrons in between, which are neutrally charged and have the same mass as protons. Now the thing we know that these are known as shells, but the thing we don't know is that how they are further categorized. So at the basic level, there is something known as an orbital, which can hold maximum of 2 electrons. Now it also has a magnetic field, as the particles, as the electrons have opposite poles. Now the interesting thing is that they come in various sizes and shapes. So they are further divided into 6 types. So these are the S type, then is the P type, then is the D, F, G, H, right? So these are spherical in shape. It comes from the letter S only, you can say. Spherical. These are dumbbell shape. And these are also known as axial orbitals because they are generally formed on the x-axis, y-axis or the z-axis. These are double dumbbell shape. These are complex in nature, and we still don't know about the shape about these. These are very complex, you can say. So we all know the shape right now. Now we will come to the types. So the S orbital come only in one type. That is the normal S orbital. Now P orbital has 3 types. Those are Px orbital, Py orbital and Pz orbital. So Px orbital is formed something like this. So you draw the x in the y-axis and then you overlap the orbital on the x-axis. This you can say Px orbital. Now comes the Py orbital. I think many of you would have already guessed it. So it will be something like this, right? Py orbital. Now we'll come to the Pz orbital. In this case, we will only draw the x and the z axis to avoid confusion. This is the Pz orbital. Now, or you can say, now you have already understood that each orbital can hold a maximum number of 2 electrons. So you don't get confused between how many electrons a shell holds and then compare it to how much number of electrons an orbital is holding. So now I'll just tell you that similar orbitals make up a subshell, and one or more subshells make a complete shell. Okay. So this is the flow chart. You have to always refer to. So in case of the first shell, you can say. So uh, in the first shell, there are only two electrons that can be held. That is maximum. That is, and for helium that is the case, and for hydrogen there is only one electron. So we can say that there will be only one orbital, or you can say one subshell. That will be the S1. Okay, got it. So we'll jump to this now for now, and I'll clarify that in the later part of the video. So these come in 5 types. It's going by the order. 7 types, 9 types, 11 types. Okay. So we're not going to study much in this, but for now we'll study about the d orbital. So the 5 types are dxy, dyz, and dzx. Also dz square minus y square and dz square. So wait, I'll have to rub it. I hope you guys have already noted this down. If you haven't, then you can reverse the video. So 5 types. The first type is dxy. So we draw the x in the y-axis, and as we said that these are double dumbbell shape, so it will be something like this. Now comes the dyz. This is the z-axis, so it will be something like this. Okay, I think things have been really clear till now. So dzx. Okay, so now comes dx square minus y square 1. So these are also formed on the axis. The difference is that these are dumbbell shape. So it will be something like this. Now comes the dz square. Now these are hard to draw actually. This is the z-axis. So these are something like this. At the origin they are somewhat pulped, and two of the structures are along the z-axis, but in the center it's something like this. So you can say it's like this, right? Z-axis, Z. And here there is the origin. So this is the basic idea of different type of orbitals. Now we'll just clear the board. Now, as I told you before, the subshells is a group of similar orbitals. So, subshells, these are made of similar orbital. So, as we had grouped the orbitals, we also have the same number of subshells with the same name but with a capital letter. So these are S subshell, then is the P subshell. Just guess it, okay? Now we'll see which subshell can hold how many number of electrons. Okay, so S subshell will only have S orbitals which only come in one type, so it will be 1 into 2 electrons, right? And the P subshells come, the P orbitals come in 3 types. Hence each type carries 2 electrons, so the maximum number of electrons that a P subshell can carry will be 3 into 2, that is equal to 3 electrons. On the D subshell, orbitals, so it will be 5 types as we studied before, so it will be 5 into 2, 10 electrons. Maximum it can carry 10 electrons. Now for the F subshell, similarly there are 7 types, so it will be 7 into 2, 14 electrons. Now you can calculate for this also. So for this it will be 16, and for this it will be 18. These aren't used much, but these are proved mathematically and not theoretically in chemistry. So we'll mainly deal with these only for now. Now there are 3 important principles we'll study. Wait, I'll just clear it. So the first principle is also known as Aufbau principle. This is the most important one, you can say. This is the principle based on which we do the electronic configuration of different elements. So you just write the definition till then. No, don't write the definition. Instead, just learn how it is. You can do the definition from the textbook as well. So the basic idea is that electrons are filled in subshell of lower energy levels first. So before that, I'll show you a rule that is also known as the N plus L rule. So you can say, firstly you'll name it, okay? So for S or subshell, S, P, D, F, G, H, right? So for this, S will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will normally go on, and then L will be 1 less than N. So L will be less than N. It can be anything now. For the D orbital, it can be 1, 2, but we'll take the maximum here to find the maximum energy level. So it will be 0 for this one, 1, 2. It can be, oh no, it can't be. So it can be 0 for also this one, but we'll consider this, okay? We'll talk about this in the later half when we'll be studying about quantum numbers. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now N is symbolic of which, it is specifically symbolic of which shell it belongs to. For like, wait, I'll tell you. So just fit in your brain that L will never be equal to N, and by the N plus L rule we can decide that which subshell has more energy or which subshell has less energy. So I'll draw a very important table. So for period 1, and also an important thing that we can take from this part is that F or by F subshell can never be in the first period or the second period. because it has got is n equal to 4, so it will always come in the, it means it can always come in the fourth or the fifth period depending on the energy level, that also if it permits. So you can never put the f orbitals in the first first period. So hydrogen will never have f, d, p. It will only be s, because s is the only one which has n equal to 1, whereas s can come anywhere because it has the minimum requirement is 1 for it, right? So we just draw a table here, period number, subshells, and number of electrons it can hold. Last element also, right, of each period. Okay, so for the first one only s is compatible over here, right? So you can only put one s. One here signifies which shell you are putting in. Okay, so one. So when it will be 1s1, it means that the s orbital is only holding one electron. So you can say it meets the electronic configuration of hydrogen, which only contains one electron. Whereas for helium it will be 1s2. So we'll put that afterwards. So basic idea we'll put 1s. Number of electrons max can be, for s can be 2, right? We had done it in the before part of the lecture. So the last element is helium. Now we'll come to the period number 2. So here we can put 1s because we are jumping to the second shell. Okay, the first shell is completely occupied by the 1s thing, because the minimum requirement is 2 electrons. So we'll directly jump to the second shell. So it will be 2s. Now you can say that 2s will have lesser energy than 2p, because see, for 2s it will be 2 plus 0, that will be 2. Now here I told you that this is the minimum requirement. Okay, so it actually signifies which shell you are taking it into. Okay, min. And for 2p it will be 2 plus 1, L is 1 maximum. So by the Aufbau principle we said that electrons are firstly filled in the orbitals which have lower energy levels. So it will be firstly filled in 2s. Now let's write it for 2d also. No, 2d can't come only, see, because the minimum requirement is 3. It can only come in the third shell or after that. Okay, so it will be only 2s 2p, and maximum electrons will be 8, 6 from here and 2 from here. Okay, this appears to be easy, right? So helium, there is no, third orbital. So here again we'll compare it. So it will be 3s, it will be 3 plus 0, 3, so it will come first, of course. And 3p, it will be 3 plus 1, 4, it will come after 3s. And 3d will be 3 plus 2. So it will be 5. So it won't come, right? So it will be 3s, 3p, and it can't be 3d over here, because then all the electrons will be filled as it is. In the third shell there are 8 electrons, right? So it will be 8 again. So this will be now for the fourth one. Now for the fourth one we'll take 4s. Of course it has the minimum value, but we can also take 3d over here. So we'll compare it. 4 plus 0 equals to 4, and this will be 3 plus 2, right? So it will be 5. So 4s will come first, but we'll have a look at 4p over here. So 4p will be 4 plus 1. It is also equal to 5. But there is another important rule that if the values of n plus l are coming same, so we'll take the orbital first whose n is less, and that is 3, right? So we'll take 3d and 4p, okay? And maximum electrons will be 18 over here. Okay, so the fifth one now. For the fifth one also, it will be 5s again. You can basically say that s comes first in every shell. So it will be 5s, and then there will be 4d because it is less than 5p, 18 again, and the last element will be xenon. Now you see a pattern over here, right? See the number which is the coefficient of s and p are equal, but as we go below, the d depreciates by 1 and it comes between 4s and 4p. So in the sixth, so you can say for the first one there is only 1, for the next to it's 2, for the next to it's 3, so it's going in a pattern. So you can easily remember this, you can say. So it will be 6s. Now as we know that it's the number of subshells is increasing by 1 if you jump from one shell to the another. So there will be 4 over here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will be 6s. We'll write 6p over here first, and then there will be 5d as we discussed, it is depreciating by 1, and then it will be 4f. Now if you want, you can compare these also. 4f will be equal to 4 plus 3, it is 7, and 5d will be equal to the 5d will be also equal to 7, but as we discussed earlier, that because of the n plus l rule, if the value is coming the same, so you take the one which has the lesser n. So we'll take this. 6s will be 6 plus 0, so it will be definitely less than this. And then there is 6p. 6p will be higher. 6 plus 1, it will be 7, and since it has got more n value, it will be pushed in front of 5d. Now for these two, there will be only 4 elements, right? We have generated a pattern over here, you can say. Now it will be 7s, 7p, or 6d, okay? It depreciates by 1, 6d, and this will be 5f. The 8th one, for the 8th period. So it will be 8s, 8p. This is confirmed, right? This also we can say is really easy to do. And it will be 6f. This will be 5g. This we have done because, see, as you can see, these have number of orbit subshells as 1, 2 and 3 have 2, 4 and 5 have 3, 6 and 7 have 4. So 8 and 9 will have 5. So it will be again in this pattern. You can cross check if you want the energy levels. Okay, energy levels is denoted by n plus l. Okay, 9p, 8d, 7f, 6g. Okay, a lot of space was left. So we'll do it. We'll do the 10th one also. Oh, I forgot to mention these. It will be 32. You can calculate it from here. Maximum electrons 32. Then there will be 50, and then for the 10th one it will be 72. Yeah. So it will be 10. Now this has 5, so this will have 6. Okay, going by the pattern. (9d), 8f, 8f, 7g, and 6h. Okay, this is theoretical, not this is proved mathematically, and it may not come in your exam or your test, so you don't need to worry about it. So it will be read on over here, and yeah. Okay, so we are done with this part. I hope everyone understood this of above principle. This is very handy. Now we'll do some examples based on this to understand your learning. So write the EC of let's say calcium. Okay, so we know that the number of electrons in Ca equals to 20, right? So we'll do it in that manner only. For the first shell, there are only 2 electrons. Okay, so it will be 1 S2. We'll completely fill it. Okay, then there will be 2 S2, 2 P6 because it has 3. So you can say, wait, I'll draw the structure only here. Okay, this is appearing as a proton. We all know there are 8 in this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we got the sum as 8. 2 electrons in the S1 and 6 electrons in the P1. These are the maximum they can hold, right? So for the third period, we had 3D and 3P. Okay, for I don't know. We had 3S and 3P. We won't get D. So it will be 3S2. 3P6. Now 3D can also come, but it will be 0 because these are already occupying all the branches. So it will be again 8. Okay, this will be 0. Now we'll come to the fourth one. Fourth will only have 2. So it will be 4s2. So this becomes the electronic configuration of calcium. Okay, you got this right? This is easy, right? So we'll do few more examples as well because I need to teach you the 3D thing. Okay, let's go. So write the EC of, let's say, zinc, okay, which has atomic number equal to 30. We'll learn the periodic table afterwards, so there's no need to worry of which atomic number or element I am giving it to you. You have to just solve it with the basic idea. So again we'll go with 1s2, okay, the first shell, and it will be 2s2, 2p6 since it's fully filled, so it will be 8 electrons. Then it will be 3s2 and 3p6 again, right? Now there comes the twist over here. So how many electrons have we covered till now? Is 2 plus 2 plus 6 plus 2 plus 6. So this makes it up to 18 electrons, right? This is also the electronic configuration of argon, which is noble gas element. Okay. So now we'll begin with 4s2. Okay. So in the fourth period, as we remember, it was 4s2. Then there was 3d because 4p's n plus l value is 5, whereas of 3d it is of 5, but the n is less. Okay, so we'll take 3d over here, and by the of-course principle we take the subshell which has less energy level, so it will be 3d. Okay, it will be 3d. And how many electrons do we need right now? So it is 20 till now, right? So we'll fully fill this one as well. So we'll do 3d10, and then wait, are we done? 8, 10, 12, 18, 20. Yeah, we are done. So 6 to 6 now. So we made it to 30 electrons. Okay, this is easy, right? So you just have to learn that table, and that is very easy to learn. As I told you the trick, that the coefficient of S and P will be the same, whereas in the fourth period, it will the D will come into play, and it will be the coefficient of it will be -1, then the corresponding S and P, and for the fifth one it will be the same, and it all goes on in the pattern. So we have covered that, right? Now we'll look at the second one, that is Hund's rule. Now you will be easily able to relate from this, because we have done all the orbitals in the subshell thing. So in case of it simply says degenerated subshell. Degenerated subshell means having orbitals of the same type. So it is the electrons are half filled with the same spin, then they are filled with opposite spin. So basically what we are doing in the electronic configuration, for example, we'll take Ca again. So it was 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2. So basically what we are doing is filling the electrons in the shells, right? So these come in only one type, so it will be just one box having 2 electrons. So it will be like this. No, these come only in one type, so it will be like this. Okay, so we'll first fill it like this and then like this. You can't do it like this. Okay, you can't fill the electrons having the same direction, or as we say, the magnetic polar solvent, but you can't. This is the right way to do it. Okay, and the 2s2 will be also the same. These are the same spin. Now 2p6, these have 3 types. Okay, so one box can maximum accommodate 2 electrons. So you can say this subshell has 3 types. Okay, so you can say 3 orbitals in a way. So each orbital, as we studied before, can have only 2 electrons. So it will be, so first we'll fill it like this. Okay, this was the first electron, this is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth. So this will be the 5th electron, this will be the 6th, 7th electron. Okay, 5th, 6th, 7th. Now as the Hund's rules say, that we have to first fill it half with the same spin. You can fill it like this. This will be the 5th and 6th. This is wrong. Okay, you can do it like this. So for filling the 8th, 9th and the 10th electron, we'll have to do it this way. So this will be the 8th electron, this will be the 9th electron, this will be the 10th electron. Okay, I think this is very easy to understand. Now we'll jump to 3d10. Okay, so in the zinc one, we had 3d10. So we all know that the D subshell, the D orbital has 5 types. It will be 5 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and each orbital can maximally accommodate 2 electrons. So it will be this, this, this. Okay, just remember that this electron, this electron, this electron, these all will be simultaneous and not these two. Okay, so it will be so if this is the 10th electron, you can say it will be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, nothing very hard to understand in this. Answering. Now for the third principle, that is Pauli's exclusion principle, you'll have to study something known as quantum numbers. Now each electron in an element is given a specific quantum, is given a set of quantum numbers which is completely unique. No other electron can have the same quantum number in the same element. So there are 4 quantum numbers through which we can say where an electron resides in that given element. So the 4 quantum numbers are principal quantum number. Then there is something known as azimuthal quantum number. Then there is the magnetic quantum number. And then there is the spin. So this is denoted by the letter N. This is by L. This is the same L that we studied before. Our magnetic quantum number is denoted by N, and this is by S. Okay. So the principal quantum number denotes which period it lies in, or specifically you can say which. So the principal quantum number is nothing more than the shell which it belongs to. For example, 3d5. So the principal quantum number will be 3. Now if you look at this, the azimuthal quantum number will be the general value of n, which is for s. For s it is n equals to 1, l is 0. For p it is 2, then for d it is 3, f 4, 5, g is 5. Okay, so the general value of L in all these cases is n minus 1, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So the L will denote in which type of subshell it belongs to. For example, let's take an example. Right? Okay, so we'll take the example of, let's say, potassium. Okay, with the atomic number 19. It's 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3p6, and 4s1, I guess. Yeah, 4s1. So now we'll if we want to find the quantum number of, let's say, the 16th electron, quantum numbers, you know? So it's 2, 4, 10, 12, and 3p4 will be the 16th one. Okay, so it will be like this way. So how much was this? So this will be the 13th one, 14th, 15th, 16th. This is which we have to find, 16th electron. So to denote L, it's easy. It will be 3. Now as it belongs in the P subshell, we can say that L will be 1, because the value of the general value of P is 2. So L will be n minus 1. So L will be equal to 1. Now the magnetic quantum number, it tells us that where the electron is exactly located in the subshell. So the L1, see, this one tells you which shell, this one tells you which type of subshell, this one tells you where it is in the subshell, and this is completely random. This can only have two probability, that is plus and minus half. You can't figure it out for which it is plus and for which it is minus. But if we take 1 as 2, n will be equal to 1 and n will be equal to 0 for both. And m will be always equal to 1, because as we said that m should be more than or equal to minus L, or less than or equal to n. So L will be 0 for both, m will be 0 for both, and n will be equal to 1. How to distinguish both the electrons by the Pauli's exclusion rule? No electron can have the similar set of quantum numbers. So one will have plus half as S and one will have minus 1. Okay. So let's get back to what we on the 16th electron. So as we know that m varies from minus L to L. So here we got n as 3, okay, and L as 1. So the possible values of m will be minus 1, 0, and 1. So you can say that. If there are 6 electrons, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 electrons. So now you can randomly assign it, not randomly assign it, as in you can write it as minus 1, 0, 0, plus 1, plus 1. So it will automatically sync up with your answer in the MCQ. So you just do it that way. So for example, so the quantum number for this will be, the set of quantum numbers for this will be n, 3 or 1. We want the 6th one, we want the 4th one, okay. So 0 and plus or minus 1, 2. One of the answers will match, okay. So you can write it as plus 1 also and minus 2, minus plus half also and minus half also. So next, now we'll do it for 3d10, okay. So if you want the 10th electron over here, so what will be the quantum number? So n will be equal to 3, that's very easy. Now for D, L is equal to 2, the general thing, and then m will range from minus 2 to 2, okay, so it will be minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2. So the 10 electrons equal, I am drawing the electrons, okay, not the orbitals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So one will have minus 2, 2 will have minus 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2. Okay, there's an extra over there. So, okay, it will meet the necessary electronic configuration, so you can easily write it that way. Now spin quantum number, as I told you before, it can be either plus half or minus half. So you can so you can't do anything to perfectly know if it's plus or minus. But the important thing is that we should know what these three numbers should be. Okay. So the important thing is the m will be in order. So you have to always in that particular subshell you'll have to always assign the values from negative to positive in a symmetrical manner, like I did over here, minus 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. Okay, because all of them are equally distributed and you can't distinguish between them rightly on your own, right? So that is all for the quantum numbers. Now this makes us very easy to understand the Pauli's exclusion rule. Pauli's exclusion rule says that no they can't have same set of quantum numbers. Two electrons can't have same set of quantum numbers in a given atom. Okay, this is pretty easy to understand after what we did just now. Okay, so now we have understood about the orbitals, how the shells are further divided into subshells having different types as well. Subshells are nothing but the orbitals having the same nature. So the S, for example, the S subshell will contain many S orbitals, but no, it will contain only one S orbital because S comes in only one type, whereas the P orbital has three types. So the P subshell will have three orbitals of P having 6 electrons carrying capacity, and similarly it goes for D and F then G. Okay, so we will wrap up this lecture and we'll continue this chapter in the second one. Okay.